It doesn't count.
I'm not gay, man.
I'm
no
not gay.
homo.
It was just one time. I was the top, so it doesn't count. Hi, and welcome to the SaVeg Podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our savage take on just about everything.
You are currently listening to the previous episode of this podcast, but if you would like to listen to this week's episode and get some exclusive content, go over to patreon.com/thesavagepodcast.
Hello.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the SaVeg Podcast.
Yeah. Guys, welcome back to another episode. We've got two new patrons.
We sure do.
We would like to say thank you to Captain Obvious.
Yep. And to Susan.
Thanks, guys, for joining. And if you guys don't know, our Patreon is always linked in the show notes or description. And it is basically a little group where you get exclusive content every single month. And you get all the episodes ad-free and all the episodes a week earlier than everyone else. And how much is it going to cost them?
It costs as little as $3 a month, guys.
Yeah, it's cheap as hell.
With inflation these days, you can't get anything for $3.
It's basically like 3 cents.
Exactly.
Anyways, if you guys want to join, you can also get a little shout out in our shows.
Exactly.
So check that out.
And what did we talk about in February? The February exclusive.
Oh, yeah. So we did do a February exclusive, and that's already out. And a few people have actually requested that we talk about someone in the vegan community that has recently quit veganism.
What was his name again?
God, what was his name?
Cosmic Vegan?
Oh, yeah. Cosmic Skeptic.
Cosmic Skeptic. That's right. Yes.
We discussed that in length, actually.
Pretty much the entire episode. No.
Because we didn't think we would actually talk about it that much.
Yeah.
But we just kept going on about it. Obviously not just specifically about him and his issue.
Just about a lot of people in the vegan community announcing all this stuff. And I think it inspired Rose to do her announcement, didn't it?
That I'm quitting?
No. I like how you're like, no, that you're still
what?
vegan. You know
That I am still vegan. I was
Yeah.
like, I didn't quit vegan. I was like, what you talking about? Anyway, guys, I'm still vegan.
That's what I meant.
Yes, that was my announcement because I was sick and tired of everyone just announcing that they weren't vegan anymore. And it makes it seem like everyone's quitting veganism, but really we're only focusing on the people that say they're quitting because why would somebody that's vegan make an announcement that they're still vegan?
Exactly.
So,
It's like if you had, it's sample size. If you had 100,000 people and over a year, 5,000 of those people made announcements that they were leaving the vegan community, for example, people will be like, wow, everyone's leaving veganism. Every day I'm seeing 10 people or 15 people, but really the vast majority are still,
Exactly. You just don't hear from them. So anyways, if you want to hear our thoughts on that drama.
Do you remember what else we talked about in that?
What else did we talk about?
So we talked about, I believe, I'm pretty 99% sure it was on that episode, but we talked about the Chelsea Handler post.
Oh, did we talk about it then? Oh, maybe.
I think we did.
We talked about a few different news. So we basically treated this month's exclusive as kind of like another episode where we talked about news. And yes, I think we did talk about it. So we talked about Chelsea Handler and her segment about being a child free by choice. Anyways, it's a very fun episode. So go listen to it. It is only available for our Patreon subscribers.
Yep.
So make sure you check it out. And and you can also check out all of the previous Patreon exclusives as well, which we have a ton
There's
of.
a big library now, guys.
Yes,
so you get access to all that content. So you can spend all day listening to our podcast and listening to our beautiful voices.
Exactly. So there you go.
As if you're not already,
I know. Hopefully you're not sick of our voices. So let's jump right in. Any updates? Anything to? Well, I was just in Toronto.
Yep.
What did you do this week? A lot of working.
What did I do this week? Not I've just been. Well, the week that you were gone, I was just working.
God damn, Daniel. It'd be busy as hell.
I'm doing a home reno project, so that's taking up all my extra time. I just feel like I don't know how many of you guys have done
That's a lot of work.
It is, because we're literally building a basement from the walls. It was kind of satisfying though, because this weekend we did a lot of the drywall, putting the drywall panels up, and it's it seals the rooms. You don't see all the wires and stuff behind. It's the big panels that go on the wall.
You didn't show me that.
Yeah, I have to show it to you after. Yeah. There's still so much. Putting the panels up is phase 1 of 150.
Yeah, respect for people that do this shit, man. I could never.
Some people do it for a living.
Yeah, but some people just do it.
I know. Well,
it's how do you figure this out?
Well, and some people they'll deliberately, which I think it's a smart investment to do it this way, is to buy a house that needs work. But some people with kids do that. They'll buy a house that's a reno project.
They must hire people to do
I think they do for some things.
Yes.
They must. But they still.
But how did you figure out how to like do everything?
Well, luckily, one of my dad's friends is like a contractor.
Okay, so he helped you.
Exactly. He's
Okay.
Because this is the thing. Once you can show, if you can, like, this is the thing. I would have never even known how to do drywall,
Yeah.
vapor barrier, installing
I don't even know what these
insulation.
words mean.
Me neither. I was like, I don't know. They'd be like, yeah, it's a 4x8 with a half inch and a quarter inch, and I'm like, speak English to me, you know. But once you like start doing it, like it's not easy work. Like it's manual labor.
But once you understand it, then you can do it.
Then you can start planning, and you're like, okay, this has to be like here, and so I'll show you.
Now you know how to build a house.
Well, let's not go that far. But
anyway,
the interesting thing is, so we're doing drywall right now, like the panels. And the interesting thing is, obviously, you use the framing to like screw it in. And every single section of framing that we did, like me and my brother, it's worked perfectly with the drywall.
Okay.
It was like a smooth like finish and like didn't have any issues. All the old legacy framing that was left over that we didn't knock out.
Yeah.
Issues.
Really?
Because the wood frames have to be in line because the drywall goes like this. But imagine you have like 6 or something and a piece of drywall goes like this. If some of the boards aren't in line, they're a little bit too far back. You can't screw it into it because it's like too far back.
So basically, they didn't do it properly.
Exactly. So we've had to do some, extra stuff just
God,
to.
that's kind of like kind of scary. Like we're talking about a house here.
I know.
You know?
But like this basement, whoever did the reno originally did a terrible job. So
I mean, as long as the house is not falling apart, it's fine.
Exactly. And it's interesting to see because like I had no appreciation before of like now when I see houses, I'm like I know what's behind the walls. Like it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Like,
that's cool though.
Yeah.
You kind of like learn how it all works.
I know. I'm turning into such a tradie now.
You be a tradie?
God damn.
You gonna marry a tradie?
I'm married tradie. Handy around the house.
Kind of hot, yeah.
I know.
Handymen are hot.
I don't know, guys. I like. Okay, this is probably
because
TMI.
men nowadays, like they don't know how to do anything. Just like nobody knows how to do anything. So it's hot when like a guy kind of knows.
I don't know why, and I don't think I'm ever gonna end up dating a guy like this, guys. But I don't know what it is about my type. But my type is like. Not all. I have a variety of different types, but one of them is like a guy that's like, does construction or like knows how to build things.
I mean, everyone thinks that that's attractive.
I just find that really hot, and then like a sleeve tattoo.
Oh wow! Okay.
I know. I envision this like
a stereotypical tradie.
Yeah, I'm manifesting.
I mean, they're everywhere, Daniel. You can definitely find one.
I know that's true. This is true. But yeah,
they're also, we are in Alberta.
That's true.
So they're gonna be like, I ain't gay.
I know. That's true. They're like, God damn.
Hey, man. No homo, bro.
No homo.
I don't know.
I mean, I slept with you, but that doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
It's like those guys that are like, if they're not the bottom, they're not gay,
Oh my God, is that a thing?
I think
is that what people say?
Yeah, some people are like,
God.
oh yeah, like, I just let the guy suck my. That doesn't mean I'm gay though. I'm not gay, bro. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Like,
oh my God, people are fucking ridiculous.
I know, people are funny, but anyway, guys.
Anyways,
we digress.
So now it's time for stories.
Well, I think this like really leads into the first story that I wanted to talk about. That this article that was posted that I just thought was kind of
interesting.
Okay, I'll read
the title is most young men are single. Most young women are not.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I do not fit into that young women statistic.
I know,
but maybe I don't count as a young woman anymore.
Unfortunately, we don't, Rose. We're not in that
Are they talking
young
about the
category.
20s?
Yes. So listen to this. More than 60% of young, and this kind of like reiterates like what we were talking about.
We always talk about?
What we always talk about. More than 60%, and again, these stats are in America. I don't know the validity of this particular study, but whatever. It says more than 60% of young men are single, nearly twice the rate of unattached young women.
What?
Signaling a larger breakdown in the social, romantic, and sexual life of the American male.
We're talking about that virgin pandemic again, Daniel.
God damn.
That virgin pandemic.
But it gets.
This is actually a problem. Continue.
It is. And this article kind of goes into it a little bit. It's like men in their 20s are more likely than women in their 20s to be romantically uninvolved, sexually dormant,
right,
friendless
as well,
and lonely.
Oh, it's so sad.
They stand at the vanguard of an epidemic of declining marriage. I don't know why sexuality is included in here. Relationships that impacts all of young America. But like the issue goes much further beyond that. It's that whole idea and that concept of people being, we're social beings, right? Like even people that are introverted, like, you have introvert, extrovert, like introverted people still need social interaction. Like we are naturally just like social, a social animal.
Exactly.
And they were saying like,
we're in a crisis of connection, said Niobe Wei, a psychology professor and founder of the Project for the Advancement of Our Common Humanity at New York University. That's a long title.
Yeah.
And disconnection from ourselves and disconnection from each other. It's getting worse.
Yeah. And they talked about how, and this, because initially people might be like, oh, what's the problem? I don't see the big deal. But they use this as one example. But they said the disconnect, young men's disconnect from society, like so being lonely, not being in relationships, not having sexual relationships, not even having friends is increasing the rate at which young men are committing suicide.
Oh my God.
Also for the rise of mass shootings. Because these people are lonely, they're isolated
and the
from
rise
society.
of the Andrew Tates of the world.
Exactly. This is exactly all of these problems that we're seeing now that are, I feel like we're almost at the like little beginning of it, you know, because I think these problems are just going to get worse and worse.
It's going to get worse
because this is happening. Like it's continually, we're becoming less connected, and it's ironic because people think with social media we're more connected.
Exactly.
But we're
very less connected.
Exactly. Like even think about our lives. Do you know your neighbors?
No, I don't. This is a big problem, and I always think about this problem. And again, this is this is a small symptom of a much larger problem, and it's obviously not a small symptom because it is a problem. It says young men commit suicide at 4 times the rate of young women. Young men are largely responsible for rising rates of mass shootings. I mean, think about mass shootings. How often is it a young man? Almost like I would say more than, I don't know the statistics, but every time I see it, it's almost always. In fact, it's kind of shocking when it's not a young man. I don't even remember the last time it was a woman. You know what I mean?
There's probably been some,
of course, but again, like it's almost never a woman, right? And again, like it could be due to many different reasons. And then the problem is people, like men, get frustrated, they get angry about this, and then they follow people like Andrew Tate who like to blame the woman for this problem. Which that's completely unfair and unjustified. And also, it's kind of ironic because people like to, you know, always talk to women and say, oh, women, like, you're going to be single. Like, they always, like, attack women with this, like, threat that they're going to end up single and alone and, unhappy and lonely and dissatisfied.
Unfulfilled.
And that's just you projecting your insecurities, right, onto, you know, women, thinking, because that's what you're insecure about. That's what you're afraid of, you know, being lonely and single. And the problem is also, sorry, I keep going all about this, but like men also, we always talk about like they have a little bit of a harder time, I think, with friendships than women. Women friendships are very different. So I think even without that relationship aspect, the friendship aspect is already a little bit more lacking compared to women that have maybe stronger connections, generally speaking, with other friends.
Well, and they also say in this article, which is, we've talked about this before, but again, this is just reiterating a lot of the points that we've discussed, but they were saying like this new era has reshaped of gender parity. So they're saying, you know, as you know, we're closing the income gap, women are getting empowered. It's saying that in many cases, removing young men from the equation. And there's a quote here, which I thought you would like. Women don't need to be in long-term relationships. They don't need to be married. They'd rather go to brunch with friends than have a horrible date.
I mean, no true words haven't been spoken.
Exactly. Because I think what exacerbates this problem is the rise of like, and again, this is a societal thing. It's not women. It's good that women are empowered. It's good that they're doing these things, but it's created a new balance in the in a relationship where it's like, you know, I'm sorry, but men, you need to do better. Exactly. You need to start like, you can't just like see your parents' relationship or grandparents and think I should work. Your wife works. You expect her to do all the house cleaning, all this other stuff. It's like, you need to also, you know, step up. So part of the problem is, obviously the societal issue is the way society is going is creating this, but men also aren't, instead of stepping up to the plate and like saying, hey, you know what, we need to respond to this like shift, they're almost like digressing. Yeah.
Or they're just like, again, blaming women for having what do you call it? Like unrealistic expectations, unrealistic standards, high standards. And they think that they need to be like 6 feet tall and earn a 6-figure income and, you know, have a 6-pack and all of this crazy shit. Whereas like, really, that's not actually what most women care that much about. You know what I mean? So obviously being attractive and making lots of money, that helps a lot. But that's not all. Again, women are able to make our own money.
Yeah.
And I think like now, I think I've talked about this before, whereas like women were always like forced to be good at other things, not just making money. Of course, like, you know, main thing was like our appearance, but we, you know, we fought hard in the last like few decades to get an education, get jobs so we can like be independent. So we've worked on a lot of different things, and we've been taught to do a lot of different things alongside, you know, being respectable and like having, you know, good friendships and all these things. Whereas I think men are always, and again, this is a societal problem where men were maybe just taught to not show emotion and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like they didn't really have to do much around the house. You know, they saw they saw the dynamic of their parents where, you know, the mom was doing almost all the housework and the dad did nothing, and that worked for, you know, however long.
Yeah.
And that's what they were taught.
Yeah.
And even in my generation, like I definitely did more housework than my brothers. You know what I mean? So it's like, just simply because I'm a woman.
And I could guarantee you that if my parents had a daughter,
guaranteed,
the expectation on her would be very different than me.
Expectation is completely different.
Yeah.
Like my relatives would say like, oh, how, like they would look at my room and be like, oh, why is your room so messy for a girl? You know, they would say shit like this, right?
Whereas for the guys, they would be messy. Like, oh,
yeah, that's just expected.
Oh, they're just a teenage boy.
Exactly. So it's like the expectations were different. So again, it's not necessarily even the fault of, you know, men in general. I think it's just like the way that they've been raised to think that all they have to do is maybe earn a lot of money. And then of course we add in the economic aspect of it. It's harder to make money. And now women are also competing with them.
Yeah.
Whereas before they just had to make a lot of money and women couldn't even.
I know. And then at the bottom of this article, it says only half, I guess this is like some quotes to leave you guys with, but it says half of all young adults are single in the US, 34% of women, and a whopping 63% of men. Single men. Yeah. Only.
What is young people?
I don't know.
Below 30?
Only half of single men single men in this study, I guess, are actively seeking relationships or even casual dates. And that figure is declining.
This is just so sad.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so many elements to this, and we always talk about like the decline of like having a community, and unless you actively seek a community, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right. So unless you already have friends from school that you continuously keep in contact with, which is difficult because your lives change and your jobs change, and maybe you move locations.
Yeah. And
then you get into a new place, and you have to like really actively look to have a community. You know, like even for us, like we're very social people, but now we're already experiencing dynamic changes in our friendships.
Yeah.
So we're feeling like, okay, like of course, like we still have our friends and we're lucky to have friends, but you know, we're like, oh, like where do we find different people that we have more in common with?
And we're now having to like look out and say, okay, because we don't really have like, you know, again, we don't really have a community in where we're living.
Like I want a community like of people that, again, it doesn't have to be like the friend. I'm still going to see my friends that I already have, but like, yeah, we're like near where we're living, you know, where we can just like, you know, maybe even bump into each other, you know, just like old times.
Do you think that part of the problem though too is like we're also getting so busy?
Yes, I think that's a huge problem because it's because one of those things, it's not naturally there, right? So I think before, you know, again, maybe it was just more normal to talk to your neighbors, know your neighbors, you know, bring them, you know, some kind of like treats. Like my parents, like they like know their neighbors in their little area. Yeah. And then they'll like, you know, bring, and of course, I'm sure they don't see them often, but like they'll bring them little like chocolates for Christmas, like stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Which like we, as our generation, do we do that? No. That's weird for us.
Maybe we should start though. Like maybe I'll bring my neighbors. I live in like a little like courtyard kind of thing, and like, maybe I'll just go around and give people chocolates.
Like I think so. That's the thing. It's like I think before it was much more normal to do that kind of thing, maybe. And
I think I said this on the podcast too. Like where my aunt and uncle live in London. Every Christmas Eve, they have like a big party.
I love
and they
that.
have the whole like, well, not a whole, but they invite like the whole street basically.
I love that.
And have everyone over.
That's the dream.
People come at different times. And
that's the dream.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to like, this is my dream. Okay. Like live close to like my friends or people that I know.
Yeah.
And we just kind of like, you know, just pop by every once in a while. Not have to like arrange a meeting, put it in my fucking calendar, which of course I always have to do that because, you know, it's impossible. And again, that coupled with having to constantly work. And imagine if you're like, and now if you have a family, both parents are working. Yeah. When the fuck are you gonna have time?
This is it. Like I even think about like my own self, my single self. It's like, okay, I work, I go to the gym 4 times a week probably. Right. I have this like rental project on the weekends. Yeah. We have the podcast. Yeah. Like it's like the gaps in my calendar are so little. And then if I try to date on top of that, it's like, when do I have time? Yeah. You know, like I feel like, I don't know if maybe we're like, because we weren't in that generation, but I feel like life's gotten busier.
Yeah, we're probably romanticizing it as well. I'm sure there's so many different things that are bad about the previous generation. Yeah. But I think one of the main things, and we can see by the numbers that like it really is a big problem. Loneliness is huge. Friendlessness is huge. Yeah. And, you know, we're also spending way too much time online, on the internet, on social media. And we think that that's, the problem is, I think, again, I've been thinking about this so much. because I'm also like, oh my God, I think I have like a social media, like a little bit of a problem. Like I'm just mindlessly scrolling. Like this is so pointless. Yet I find it to be like, I keep picking up my phone and doing that, right?
You find it fulfilling in some way.
In some weird way. And it's apparently it's like, it's that dopamine hit, which I guess what happens is, again, I need to read about it more, but basically the more you like, you know, when you're scrolling, you see something you like, you get that small hit of dopamine. And then when you keep doing that, it kind of like, I think it either decreases your like baseline dopamine or something. It like really messes with your ability to produce dopamine in like different situations. So for example, like let's say you're like seeing friends, you know, maybe in a normal situation where you didn't have social media, you would have a big dopamine increase or something. Again, I'm probably butchering this completely, but if you constantly scrolled all day and like you were entertained in so many different aspects through this social media, but then you saw your friend, your dopamine doesn't increase that much or something along those lines. So it really messes with your dopamine. So a lot of people do something called like dopamine detox. Where they just kind of like refrain from doing all these kind of like distracting activities that like have spikes in dopamine. Because I think the problem is also it doesn't last very long. It's not like it's like, okay, you scrolled and you feel super fulfilled. You have that very small bit where it like goes up a little bit, but then it comes down. They say same thing about smoking and, you know, doing drugs. It does increase it, but it's not very long lasting.
It's interesting because I've even noticed myself lately, like where
doom scrolling.
I don't do.
You're pretty good. You're pretty good about it.
I don't go on like TikTok and stuff that often.
That's very good.
I still go a couple times like here and there, but I don't go.
You're
as much
quite
as
good.
You.
Yeah, you definitely don't have my problem.
And I actually don't go on Instagram that often either. Like I don't think it's social media. I don't know what I do all day, but like
But that's good.
Yeah, I know.
You're living your life. Wow, I think they're doing construction downstairs. Sorry, there's a weird sound, you guys.
Yeah, we were just like both of us like.
It sounded like a bee or something.
Or I thought it was someone screaming outside.
Oh no! At first I did.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine.
But anyway, what I was gonna say is I've noticed that I've been doing this, and this has only been in the last like kind of month, maybe two months that it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
Like I used to only do.
Thank you.
I used to only do it like sometimes, and I just catch myself now doing it more and more, where I'll like be doing things, put the TV on in the background, I literally have so many things going on while I'm cleaning, cooking, doing this, and like it's like I'll have TV on, I'll be on my phone, like so much stuff happening.
Many distractions.
Whereas in the old me, like I would do like if I was cleaning, for example, I'd put music on because like that's what really helps me clean or helps me cook or do whatever, right? But now I'm like starting to do like other things, like where it's like overwhelming. Like I'm kind of half watching a TV show, but then I'm also on my phone text messaging, and then I'm also cooking, and I'm just like I'm all over the place. I
know it is a big problem, and I actually also read or I listened in a podcast that that is actually a big problem where if you're doing a task, it's better to just focus on doing the task rather than having a bunch of different distractions. Yeah. And they say that you get more fulfillment out of doing that task or doing whatever you're doing. Like you're just basically, you get more out of it. Even if it's a task that you don't enjoy, apparently it's still better to do the task without it or something like this. So basically having all these distractions is not really like adding into our satisfaction and happiness level. So I think that coupled in with like lack of community, now we have all these distractions that seemingly make it seem like we're, you know, having a good time. And imagine back in the day when you didn't have all of these distractions, like if you didn't have a phone, the only way you get really entertained is probably by playing a board game or you know, like talking to your neighbor, like doing shit like this, right? That maybe we now find mundane because now we have all of this like crazy stuff to look at on our phones. So we're heavily entertained in a weird way, but it doesn't necessarily make us happy. And it also makes us very socially isolated.
And it also makes us very lacking attention. Like
oh my God, I have such an attention problem. Like I actually think like it's a big problem. So it's a big problem. And so it's not too surprising that, you know, young men particularly are having more of a problem with this. And, you know, and also I just feel like women we're socialized to be more social, essentially, right?
Well, men have always been like, don't talk about your feelings. Like, oh, you know, and they have this like, I don't know, bro culture, I guess. Like, I don't know.
It's very, like, it seems very surface level. But again, I'm sure there are many male friendships that are deeper than that, of course. But I think like that's one of the stereotypes, right? Like they don't really like talk that much about their feelings. And they, again, they're taught to seek, you know, money.
Yeah.
And like also if like two guys get too close, it's like, oh, like, are you gay?
You guys,
you know what I mean?
You're gay bros.
There's so many like toxic things about, you know.
He only sucked my once, so it doesn't count. It doesn't count.
I'm not gay, man.
I'm
no
not gay.
homo.
It was just one time. I was the top, so it doesn't count.
Have you had anyone say that
I
to you?
closed my eyes. It doesn't count.
It doesn't count if you don't make eye contact. If you
Like-
don't, it doesn't count if the tips don't touch.
Yeah. Oh God, Rose. I thought this was a nice segue into our next story, though.
It doesn't count. No homo talk.
No, not that one. How we're talking about social media, getting more distracted.
Oh, Lord.
So Meta,
you
know,
aka Facebook,
aka Instagram, aka WhatsApp.
Yeah,
I think
they
as well.
they basically run everything.
So they have a lot of stuff going on. So as if Meta is not already making enough money.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of these big social media companies, I mean, their main source of revenue is through ad revenue, right? I'm sure there's other things that go on. Maybe they sell data, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, guys.
We're talking about audience feedback here, Daniel.
That's true.
Okay.
Okay. Wait,
You did this many times like this.
You want to talk about audience feedback, Rose?
We're not going to go about. We're going to talk about that.
Anyways, so Meta, our friends at
Our friends at Meta.
our friend Mark.
Our friend Mark.
Our friend Mark, yeah, good friend Mark. I'll actually just gonna text him a little bit later, but I forgot. So they've decided they're gonna do something similar to what Twitter did. So Twitter did like a
Oh no.
and Twitter crashed and burned, but apparently they've continued on with it.
They've continued to do it.
Yeah, so I think they paused it for briefly, but then they kind of like maybe they fine-tuned it or whatever.
Maybe.
So what they're doing, guys, what we're talking about is they want to test out a monthly paid verification subscription service. So those creators or content creators that have like, you know, verified tick marks and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of like a way that you can get it is through paying. Obviously, there'll be more to it than that, but so it's gonna test it out to see how it goes.
Right.
And the reason they're doing it, which I think is a little bit BS, but they're saying the move is aimed to increase authenticity and security across our services. So I can see kind of the authenticity piece because it means that somebody is verified via some way. But you can't deny the reason that they're doing this is to make money.
Of course.
It says Meta Verified will be priced at $11.99 a month.
Oh my God.
$11.99 a month for web users and $14.99 a month on iOS.
What? Wait, so what? Web users versus iOS. What does that mean?
So I think it's
iOS is obviously iPhone.
iPhone, yeah.
But what's web users?
I don't know, just like people just using on PC, I guess.
Yeah, but like some people have a phone and, you know, a computer. Most people do.
I don't really know the full details. All I know is that's expensive. And it's kind of crazy. Like it's crazy that
that's a crazy amount of money,
right? A month. This is
month.
the thing, guys.
Yeah.
We're not talking about like a whole year. You get verified. You pay like $11 or $12. We're talking about more than what I pay for Spotify a month.
And also, like, I'm so confused, right? So it says it allows users to verify their accounts using a government ID. What about businesses? What about, because most people, I'm sorry, like if you're on Instagram, well, I guess they would connect it to your like
maybe your business license,
Facebook page.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I mean, look, I'll tell you one thing. I'm not paying $14.99 a month.
Oh my God.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Me neither. Guys, I don't need a blue check.
I don't need a blue check mark. That does nothing.
I know it's like so dumb, but all of these platforms are trying to do this because they're seeing, hey, this could be a potential revenue source, right? So they talk about further here. They're like, okay, so Twitter was temporarily paused because there was some users that embarked on fraudulent pranks,
right?
Which could happen here too. They relaunched the service in December, and as of February, right now they currently have 290,000 global subscribers to whatever the Twitter fee is to be verified.
Well, this is the thing. So we look at this and we think it's crazy, right? But it's going to become the norm.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? So these companies, like, it's not like they're stupid, right?
Yeah.
They know that people are going to pay. For some reason, it sounds stupid, but people are probably going to pay. Like the iPad, everyone thought it was the dumbest thing ever. And like, how much money did Apple make from the iPad?
Exactly.
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
And what I think it's crazy is that, what do you mean it's going to increase security? First of all, like, a lot of people are not going to get it.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really, anyway, so stupid. But yeah, so companies like this, so this is the fear for, you know, what Netflix did.
Yeah.
So again, it sounds crazy. We're all like, oh my God, it's going to fail. And it might, who knows?
Yeah.
But a lot of people that canceled, who knows when they're going to maybe restart their subscription when Squid Game 2 comes out.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm afraid that other companies will maybe follow suit.
Yeah.
Hopefully not. I'm really hoping not with what Netflix did. Because clearly we thought like the Twitter thing was insane.
Yeah.
And now we know that 290,000 global subscribers. How much money is that?
Yeah.
Even at $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
A month, guys. $10 a month.
Yeah.
Okay? That's insane.
Well, for example, like how many Facebook users is there? Like
billions.
Yeah. Let's say there's like 1 billion people on Facebook.
And even if 1% did it.
But even let's just say they just started charging everybody $1 a month to use Facebook. That's going to be $1 billion a month that they would make.
Yeah.
And in a year, that's $12 billion of revenue
right.
that they didn't have before.
I know. It's crazy.
So like when you start thinking of those magnitudes, apparently, and I didn't know about this, Snapchat also launched Snapchat Plus last year.
Right.
For, I guess, $3.99.
I wonder what you get.
$3.99 monthly. I'm not sure. And it currently has more than 2 million paid subscribers.
Yep. So I guess it's going in that direction.
Yeah.
Because I guess the ad thing is not working out very well for them anymore.
Well, but this is crazy because I feel like they already make so much money through ads.
Do they? Because why did they lay off so many people?
Well, this is Rose. We cannot, and guys.
I know.
We cannot look at companies laying off people and automatically think that company's doing bad.
Of course.
Because what they're doing, it's
to appease the shareholders.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, there's kind of two ways that you can grow profit. Right? You sell more.
Yeah.
Or you cut your costs.
Right.
So if your sales are kind of similar to what they were last year, one way to increase your profit, fucking lay off a ton of people. There's a ton of people you don't have to pay anymore.
Yep.
Even after severance packages and all this. And then the thing that really pissed me off about that whole thing, I'm going to digress for a second here, guys. That whole thing where they're like talking about the tech industry and layoffs and stuff, which is very relevant right now because, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, all these huge companies laying off thousands of people.
Sure.
There was an article, or I think it was an article or a YouTube thing that popped up or something where they were like talking about this and they were like, the Silicon Valley and where all these people are working in tech, they were like, all of their wages were overinflated and that's why they had to lay off all these people because they're just getting paid way too much money. And I was like, number one. So two things on that.
Two things.
Number one is they're focusing on these like software developers and things like that, being like, oh my God, they're making, $250,000, $300,000 or $400,000 a year in salary. And it's like, and they're making too much, right? Like they're pointing this finger at them. And it's like, well, hang on a second, guys. Like, what about the exec teams on these companies? Like, we want to start talking about people making too much money. That's one. Okay. So that's the first point. And then the second point that I want to talk about that is, interestingly, there was some good comments that actually mentioned and said, actually, what a lot of those people are earning, those like higher salaries, are kind of like what everybody should be earning.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, or not everybody, but like it's a more level, like kind of where you should be.
Right.
Like
if you work for a big corporation.
Exactly. Yeah. Not, $50,000 a year or
right.
whatever your salary is. But like,
instead of cutting, let's say the Mark Zuckerberg salary or whatever the fuck, they're going to cut, thousands of people's jobs.
And or what you see a lot of companies do, which is, it's just really sad, guys. The whole model of capitalism is pretty fucked up.
It's fucked up. It's fucked up.
Publicly traded companies, their main responsibility is to shareholders,
which is so crazy.
Which is kind of crazy. I mean, I get it; they've invested in the company or whatever, but also it's like you have people on the ground doing the work.
Yeah.
Like that is so important. And then these shareholders, which I'm a shareholder of companies too. We get like dividends and things like this, so we're getting money from these companies. And we don't even work there.
Yeah, doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I know, but that's the model that we now
accept.
Celebrate. Not even accept, but that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
When people talk about growing their wealth, they don't talk about working harder or like getting a job that, pays a lot. They talk about investing. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. If you watch any growth, wealth growth strategy, they will say if you're not investing your money, like you're wasting your time. You're not going to build wealth. Yeah. That's crazy, right? Like that's insane. If you actually think about it, if you take a step back, obviously that's normalized in our society.
Yeah.
So like even for me, when I heard it, I was like, yeah, that sounds like correct. Mm-hmm. But if you actually take a step back, it's like, okay, how do we call ourselves the society that that incentivizes hard work when literally we're saying don't work. Instead, work enough just so you have enough money
to invest,
to grow it by doing nothing.
But this is this is why the whole American dream is so flawed, because again,
it's so fucked.
That concept of like, oh, work hard and you'll do well and you'll be able to retire and do all these things. And, you know, a lot of people aspire to be these mega wealthy people. Well, you know what? Just because you're super wealthy, and this doesn't go for everyone, doesn't necessarily mean that you worked hard. It means that you invested your money. Like if I was a millionaire, right?
Yeah.
And I had all my money invested in stocks that pay dividends and all sorts of things. Guess what? I probably could make more than a lot of people every single year doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Just looking at the financial stuff once a year, saying, okay, looks good.
Having my investment manager manage my portfolio. Exactly. He takes a cut, but then I get like, you know, maybe I get $500,000 a year in dividends. Doing
look at people that are rich on social media. They're just like, the dream is to like go off and live in Bali and just like, you know, like get the cash flowing in. Like that's what we are, you know, incentivizing. Which again, maybe it is a nice life. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But we should be paying people, you know, enough money. Like it's, you know,
the issue is all these companies are so profit focused.
Exactly.
And it's profit that gets delivered to shareholders, right? Yeah. So like that's where
it's the whole system.
Yeah.
It's the whole system. Like,
and we're all cogs in the wheel. You know what I mean? Like
it's impossible to change. Oh, it feels impossible to change.
Exactly. Well, and I do think there would be like if all of a sudden the stock market just like collapsed. Yeah. It would be insane. Like it would just be like,
and it probably will at some point.
At some point. Who knows? Who knows?
I don't know. It's so crazy. Anyway, so yes, that's great. Wonderful. Meta, wonderful. Gotta love them. Did you
hear about this?
Okay, so I've been hearing about, so this article, the title of this article is Tennessee House Passes Controversial Drag Show Bill. So I haven't like heard about it, but I've been hearing a lot of talk about drag shows and children. Yeah. So tell me.
Yeah, so that's what this is about, basically. So basically the bill... What was I going to say? Sorry, guys. I lost my train of thought there. You know, when you like just like thinking of something? Yeah.
Tennessee House Republicans on Thursday moved to prohibit adult-oriented entertainment from public property and restricted to age-related venues or age-restricted venues in legislation filed after a flurry of controversies over drag shows across the state.
Yeah. So essentially what they're saying is they're like saying what they want to do now is it hasn't been passed yet. That's where I was trying. That's where I was going with it. They're moving to try to pass this, right? They're heading towards trying to pass this legislation. And the argument or what they're trying to do is they're saying that, you know, drag performers or, you know, male and female, you know, drag kings, drag queens, all of that. They just think that their performances are harmful to minors and that, you know, they're too, you know, explicit. They're too this, they're too that, and they're dangerous for the youth. So they want to restrict it to venues such as like a nightclub or something, you know? So you can't have like drag brunch, for example, or things where there's drag performers in more public spaces where kids can be.
This is so stupid. I mean, how do you feel about this?
I think it's ridiculous because
it doesn't have to be. They're making it seem like it's always sexual.
Exactly.
Like that's what they're implying, right?
Yeah.
Which I understand. Obviously, there's certain like you don't want to have, you know, someone, you know, being super sexual.
Exactly.
I get it. But this is not about sexual drag shows. It's about all drag shows.
Exactly. And to be completely honest, like, I've been to quite a few drag shows in my life. And like, some of, especially the nightclub ones, they can get a bit raunchy and like,
I've only been to the nightclub one, so I wouldn't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, I get that part of it, but at the same time, and I saw, I think it was on TikTok or something where a lady was like with her kids, like protesting this bill or talking about it. And she goes, you know, the funny thing is, and it's all a lot of the Republicans and stuff are really pushing for this. And she goes, she's like, my kids or 2 kids or whatever, she's like, they've been to countless drag shows with me. They love them. They enjoy them. They interact with the queens. The queens love having the kids there. And it's very like PG in terms of like their interactions and stuff.
I'm sure it is.
She's like, never. And she's like, I would go as far to say is, I don't believe that there has been a child at a drag show that's been, you know, molested or any of this kind of horrible stuff.
Right.
And then she goes at the end of her TikTok, she goes, can we say the same about the church?
I knew you should go there. And it's so true though.
Yeah.
It's so true. Like, it's just, they hide it. Mm-hmm. Whereas like, again, and this is not about being sexual, right? Like I can almost guarantee that they are not being sexual when there are children
Yeah.
in these shows. And like, of course, if that was the problem, then sure, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But it's like someone dressing in drag is not inherently sexual.
Exactly.
But they're making it seem, this is the same argument that they said about gay people in like the 90s or something. Basically, like they're sexualizing your children.
Yeah.
All this stuff, like as if it's all about sexuality. It's all about being overtly sexual. Whereas drag shows are not about that.
Well, get this. This particular individual. I don't know who this is, but one of the Republicans, Chris Todd, I guess, filed this legislation. At the time, he called the drag show child abuse.
Oh my God.
Although he said he wasn't aware of the actual content that the show would contain.
Of course.
So I'm
None
like,
of these people have been to a drag show.
Yeah, and he goes on further to say, this is a common sense child safety bill, and I appreciate your support.
How is that common sense?
Exactly. First of all, he doesn't know the content of what's happening.
This is killing me.
I know. Secondly, guys, they might play this off, or this might be played off as
child
protection and everything else. Let me tell you right now, and I'm probably gonna get a little bit of hate for this, but I think I have a lot of like number one, number two. I'm like number one, number two today. I don't know what is with me.
You love a list.
I do. I'm like number one, number two, number three, number four.
What's number one, Daniel?
Lay
it down.
Number one is I do think it's a slippery slope.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope to this, and this could be the first step.
Start.
Exactly. Like if anybody's watched *Handmaid's Tale*, they started with freezing women's bank accounts and firing them from all jobs, and then it went really rapidly after that.
Yep.
So it's kind of crazy. Not saying that this is exactly comparable, but also they're playing it off. Or I feel like they've gotten, these guys and ladies got together and they've justified this as child safety to like mask their own bigotry, their own uncomfortability around this stuff. Because how can someone say that a show is child abuse when they haven't actually been to the show themselves?
Yes.
And they don't actually know what any of the content is in the show. How can they justify that? And that's why I think like these things are very dangerous, because they're trying to pass it off as child safety, which a lot of people can get behind.
Yeah.
Right? Like child safety.
Of course.
Everyone will agree we want our children to be safe.
That's why they always use the children thing.
Because it's easy. It's so much easier to get people's buy-in.
Yeah.
Because if I'm like, oh, Rose, we're going to pass this law because we want your children to be safe. You're going to be like, oh, okay. Initially, more people are going to buy into it. But if you peel back the layers and start to uncover like what they're actually talking about here, what some of their statements are, it really starts to really showcase some of the bigotry.
I think they're just like
bigotry or
bigotry.
I
think it's just they look at drag queens and they think this is weird.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. They're saying this is weird. This seems obscene. It seems bizarre. It seems just clownish. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And they don't understand it. And they think it's gross that there's a man dressing as a woman.
Yeah.
And they think that that's harmful to children. That's literally what it is. It has nothing, like, it's not even sexual.
Exactly. But then my argument again, and which I think is a good point when you think about this stuff. Okay, well, what about wrestling? What about video games?
Yeah.
What about all of this other stuff
things
that actually has a lot of violence in it?
What about guns?
Yeah.
You know what's more?
Oh, dude, don't get people in Tennessee started about guns, Rose, okay?
And church. I'm sorry. The amount of child abuse in the Catholic Church.
It's insane.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's crazy.
Are you actually fucking kidding me?
And yet that's deemed a safe space.
It's so insane.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy.
Like,
I don't know. It's insane.
Well, and this kind of ties in. These two stories are kind of like linked together.
Okay. This is story number one.
Story number one.
What's story number two, Daniel?
Story number two. Which is tied into this.
Florida. We gotta love Tennessee and Florida.
Yeah.
Okay. So a Florida education bill would ban gender studies and diversity programs at universities.
Isn't this crazy?
What?
Are we going back in time, guys?
Let's keep going.
This is what's wild to me. Like,
how do they ban it?
Well, it's not official yet. This is the thing. We have to be careful because these are things that are being introduced.
Discussed. Okay.
Yeah. So like here we go. It says right here, introduced by Republican Rep. Alex Andrade. I'm going to butcher
Andrade?
Andrade on February 21st, so just a little while ago. House Bill 999 would ban any funding for diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at Florida State universities, even if they're privately funded.
What? What happened to like freedom? Like, don't these people love freedom? Anyway.
I don't get it.
I know that's the thing. These people supposedly love freedom. If people want to take their kids to a drag show,
yeah,
like why is that a problem? And you haven't really put an argument in for why that's actually child abuse.
Exactly. Well, this is the thing. They're saying, going back to that bill too. They're like, drag shows are dangerous.
You haven't
kids.
actually said why.
But, like, why?
Where's the proof? Why is it dangerous?
Exactly. And you're right. That's
are
a really
they
good
eating
point.
your kids? Like, what the fuck's going on?
Exactly.
You don't have to take your kids.
Exactly. But that's such a good point, Rose. It's like you don't have to take your kids there. You know what I mean? Like if you feel that that's going to be, because you're in control of like what your kids are doing essentially, right? To some degree. And it's like, if you don't want to take your kids to church, to the wrestling show, to a drag show, you don't fucking have to. Like, but I would argue that taking your kids to certain churches is child abuse. Exactly. And I would argue that taking your kids while they're young, to things like drag shows and everything else actually is going to promote a more well-rounded individual that is used to accepting and understanding or being more of a kind person around differences. Exactly. Like, absolutely. That's actually creating a better society. Yeah, but they don't want drag queens. That's what it is. Yeah. They don't want drag queens in general. Oh, God. It's just like... They think that kids are going to watch it and they're going to become drag queens. That's what they're afraid of. Yeah. Anyway. This is crazy. So there's obviously this particular law or this bill that's been put forward in Florida. Yeah. There has been a lot of pushback as well. Thank God. Mm-hmm. So one person, Jeremy Young, who I'm not sure who he is, guys. Sorry. But he just says this is the most draconian bill that we've seen in the entire country relating to higher education. We are absolutely concerned about copycat bills in other states and about this spreading to be a national movement. I think it is very likely that the bill will pass in something very close to its current form in Florida, but it's never a sure thing. Mm-hmm. It says entire majors would be banned, specifically any major or minor in critical race theory. I don't know that much about that. There's a lot to talk about that. Yeah. Gender studies or intersectionality or any derivative major or minor of these belief systems. Are they belief systems though? Like you should be allowed to discuss. Like I don't mind people discussing it and discussing the opposing view. But you should be able to discuss it. Exactly. The whole point of going to university is to discuss different views. Exactly. And is to learn about all of these things, about different genders, about sexuality, about, like some of the best and most insightful courses I took was around sociology and criminology and like sexual deviance and like all of this stuff, which, it opens your mind and challenges your beliefs and makes you learn about other things. Like that's the whole point of getting a university education. Like it says African American studies departments could also be vulnerable at public institutions. It's so crazy. And the crazy thing is, don't they still teach like creationism in United States schools? Creationism? Yeah. Do you know what it is? Not fully what creation. But like you know what the concept is? It's where they like don't believe in evolution. Yeah, yeah. They believe like, that God created us all. Created Earth like 6,000 years ago. Yeah, and I knew high level. I just don't know it in depth. Yeah. Like of course, like it's obviously made up. Yeah. Right? But they teach that shit. People will disagree with you, Rose. They teach that shit. I know. We're teaching people like creationism, and that's like people are saying that's the truth. Whereas like something like gender studies, I'm gonna say like I might not agree with some of the things that these are theories, right? It's not. They're not saying like I don't think anyway. Like I don't think they're saying that this is like concrete fact. Like gender studies, like intersectionality. These are all like theories and ideas. Yeah, you can agree or disagree. Exactly. But like you should be able to discuss it. It's just crazy. Like, what are you afraid of? Apparently, the governor, Ron DeSantis, has like a higher education agenda, right? Which calls for banning discriminatory diversity and inclusion initiatives. Like, how is that discriminatory? I don't know. I don't know. I don't get what's going on, but apparently, like, this is it just seems really scary. And the reason why it seems scary to me, guys, and like, it's just like, again, I was saying this is what is it called? Like a catalyst, or it's like a snowball effect. I know what you're saying. Yeah. I said it earlier and I forgot how I said it, but like slippery slope. It is a slip. That's what it was. It's a slippery slope because, here we have Tennessee trying to pass this bill about drag shows and not having kids there. We have Florida talking about, okay, let's like remove some of these courses from higher education or cut funding to these programs around diversity, inclusion, sexuality, gender studies, all of this stuff. Like this is, we're going back. I know. I honestly, I'm like, is this becoming Gilead? Oh, like, God. Is the U.S. actually becoming Gilead at this point? They already, did the abortion thing. So. Yeah. And this is what I mean. I feel like a lot of this stuff is like interlinked. Yeah. Oh, so, it's all linked. It's all linked. It's as soon as you start chipping away at certain things, it's like not long before it's like other things follow quite quickly.
Yes.
And that's what scares me.
That's how it starts.
Yeah. Like I don't even know.
It's crazy.
It scares me, guys.
I know. It's crazy.
I mean, it hasn't been passed yet, but like, I don't know.
I mean, it's crazy. Stop Woke Act. Come on now. It says DeSantis kicked off his very public fight against woke indoctrination last spring when he signed into the law Stop Woke Act, which aims to regulate how racism is discussed in schools and workplaces. Okay.
It's just crazy. It's like they're trying to control everything.
The thing is, like, what's happening, I think, one of the things is that I do think that there are certain things that the extreme, I guess, left wing takes too far, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of like that list of words that you can't say.
Yeah.
So these things, like, and we've been seeing it more and more in the last few years, people getting super, offended by everything and, all of that, which I disagree with. I don't think we should be like that.
Yeah.
And I do think that's worth discussing. But then that's like that pendulum swung that far. And now it's swinging the other way where people are like literally saying like, we can't talk about racism and we can't talk about gender, like whatever.
Yeah.
So it's gone too far. You know what I mean? So it's like this is why I caution against people being so like into that world where, like what were the sexualities that we always talk about?
Oh my God. Like there's a lot.
Yeah. So it's just like being too much.
Yeah. The latest one I sent to Rose, I was like on Hinge. Spectrosexual or something.
So it's like, sometimes I do agree that the other side, the woke people, I guess, can take things a little too far.
Yeah.
And I think that this gives fuel
to the fire.
People like this
Yeah.
that want to basically go back to 1961
Yeah.
and make everything. Yeah.
I think there is a happy medium. Do you know what I mean? I think there's
like, I feel like we are a happy medium. The way that we think is normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think everyone thinks the way that they think is normal, Rose.
Okay, but like, come on,
this guy DeSantis.
Comment below. Do you think we're normal?
People, I don't think we want to put that out there, Rose, in the universe.
I think we have a middle. Like that's the thing. It's like I don't like when people are like, too extreme, like, on one side or the other, or they're not thinking clearly or logically.
Yeah.
Like, yes, like I identify as completely left wing, but I also don't agree with like not being able to say like fucking words.
Yeah.
Like I think that's stupid. And, I may not agree with like all of the little things that come with, but overall, like I still think I'm left wing, but I don't have to agree with everything in that side.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think people are just like so extreme on that end, but then now it's going the other extreme. So the extremes are fighting. And I saw like, again, this happened like a few years ago. Like I talked about this. The reason why people like Ben Shapiro and like all these people, Steven Crowder, the reason why they became really famous and popular is because they were reacting to the very, extreme liberal, like, university students that were like, saying how, there's no such thing as gender or, like just saying like insane things.
Yeah.
And then it was very easy for them to gain popularity because it's easy to be like, well, they're stupid, they're crazy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
People saying like, oh yeah, like you can still be like, saying like crazy shit. So it was easy, and it's easy to fall into that kind of brainwashed world.
Yeah. Well, and then as your algorithms keep going and keep going, next thing you know, you're getting recommended.
Next thing you know, you start thinking, oh, corporations aren't too bad. Oh, like we shouldn't have a minimum wage. You know what I mean? So like that's why I don't like when people on the extreme left go too much like this, because I think it gives fuel to these conservatives and it makes it very easy for them to spread their propaganda.
Yeah. Well, and that going back to that minimum wage thing though too, it's so funny how some people are like, especially really far conservative people would be like, oh, we don't think there should be a minimum wage, blah, 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 blah. Like everybody should just be able to
free market,
work hard and everybody can, if you work hard and strive, you'll achieve success. And it's like, but like, and we've talked about this before and I just thought of it again, like you made a really good point. It's like, there's not enough jobs for everybody.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like we might say that there is and whatever else, but like on the end of the day, if because we know there's a large percentage of the population that isn't in the workforce in every single country.
Yeah.
Right? You have retired people, you have people that like little kids, and even people that are adults, they might not be in the workforce for whatever reason, right? And like if everybody was high achievers, high everything, great performers, there's only so many high paying jobs. Like there's a limit of how many high paying jobs there are. So
well, look at Korea. That's exactly what's happening in Korea.
Yeah.
Korea is everyone is well educated. Not everyone, but so many people well educated.
Yeah.
So many people have university degrees.
Yeah.
And yet unemployment rate is very high.
Well, you know what the frustrating thing about that is just our parents' generation, right?
Yeah.
Our parents' generation and even our grandparents, if somebody went to university, their earning potential was huge. They earned a lot of money. They did really well.
Yep.
And so obviously they instilled that in us. So like we both went to university, like a lot of our friends went to university because the notion was, hey, any of our parents or any of our friends' parents that had gone to university and got degrees generally were more successful.
Yeah.
So our thought process is like, we want to achieve success. We want to, so we all go to university. And guess what? When everybody goes to university, you're no longer that one person that went to university. You're now competing in that workplace with everyone that has the same qualifications.
Yeah.
Like, and there's just not enough jobs.
Yeah.
There's not enough high paying jobs.
Exactly. We need people to not all go to university. That's the thing. But the problem is then we add in, status and, obviously we're still in a world where, if you go to university, you're considered, maybe better educated, therefore a higher status or whatever.
Yeah.
And, and then, in a country, like, I don't know how we got to this topic, but anyway, in a country like Korea where status matters and everybody wants to be successful. Nobody wants to work the labor jobs. Nobody wants to do those things because then you get looked down upon. But then now we have all of these highly educated people, too educated population with no jobs. And people are not earning enough.
Exactly.
So what the fuck?
Exactly. And that's the issue.
I have no idea how we got to this topic.
I know it got really random, but yeah. So anyway,
so Florida now trying to ban discussions. Again, coming from the same people that always scream about free speech.
Yeah.
Always complain about freedom.
It's crazy to me. It is actually crazy.
Like, what are you afraid of? That's the thing. It's like, okay, if you don't like it, maybe add in a course that I feel like people usually discuss the opposite side or
they do. That's
or
normal.
maybe if the course itself was indoctrination, then you can maybe talk about the course itself and change it.
And also, I'm sorry, but my personal belief, and I feel like if you're confident in the things that you believe in, right? If you're confident in those things enough, I actually welcome challenges.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if you're strong or not strong, but if you have a really well-structured belief system and it's based on a lot of foundations and somebody comes and throws something at you.
Yeah.
Generally 99% of the time, if you
strongly believe
and you can articulate and argue back and whatever, it can reinforce your thinking because you're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense what that person's saying.
Yeah.
I've disproven what they've said and reproven mine. That's gonna strengthen your argument. I think the issue is that they know, or maybe they don't know directly, but there's so many flaws in what they believe in.
Right.
And I think they're just scared.
Yeah.
So
it's just crazy.
It is crazy.
And so stupid. Fight the woke agenda. Come on. What are you, 12?
I know. I do agree in some degree that it can,
some of it's too far.
The pendulum can swing both ways.
Yes,
but
I think so. That's why I don't like it when people on the left are a little bit too much. Because then I'm like, oh my God, this is easy fuel for the conservative people to
But this is it, right? It's like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of an exact example.
It's like when we say that being 500 pounds is completely healthy. Sorry, I said it.
Guys.
Come on.
Rose, we are going to get so much hate.
But this is the one thing where I'm like, come on, guys. We sound irrational. And I say we as in left-wing people.
Yeah.
Because it's usually left-wing people that will, harp on that.
It's crazy. Well, I think we have time for one more story.
Okay, let's do it.
It's a quick one. But pretty heavy hitting and topical.
Oh my God, I heard about this.
This is insane.
Daniel, I told you were banned from climate change talk.
Guys.
This is the final climate change talk for the next, but this is a big story.
Yeah. This isn't, okay, obviously, I'm going to say my piece here, guys. Just give me 1 second, okay?
I know.
And Rose, trigger warning for you.
Oh God, are you going to,
I'm going to say that, I'm going to say the C word.
Climate change?
Yeah. The CC word. No, but obviously an impact of this is a result, or this is a result of what's going on in the environment and climate change. So that's all I'll say about it. Basically, guys, what are we talking about? We are talking about the blizzard.
It's insane.
That is
in California.
California of all places.
Wait, it says California faces blizzard threat as winter storm causes outages across
it's
US.
Not just in California.
Exactly, but I heard that in LA there was snow.
Yes.
Guys, how is there snow in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Has it ever happened?
I don't know. I'm sure they probably had like a one-off event.
Maybe like 50 years ago.
Yeah. It's like actually insane. Apparently there's like just tons, like in Michigan, they're having issues like all across the country.
Normally snow, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I think in some states,
but
they
like LA?
I know.
Okay. It's insane. So winter storm warnings,
winter storm alerts, including winter storm and blizzard warnings, stretch from Oregon south to California's border with Mexico.
This is insane. It's actually insane. You guys, like, what is happening?
It's crazy.
Let's see.
Let's just see what the...
God, California is not having a good time.
No.
There's like drought, and then there's like a flood. There's fires God, all the time. And now snow?
It's crazy.
Like, how is that possible? Okay, it says... Southern California was expecting severe impacts from this event with up to 6 inches of rainfall at lower elevations.
Here we go. This is the first blizzard warning issued by the NWS in LA forecast office since 1989.
Wow, that's kind of shocking that they even had one in 1989.
I know.
But still, blizzard warning.
Yeah.
I mean, is it really a blizzard?
A record low temperature of 41 degrees. So they are breaking...
Whatever that is.
Yeah. Or was set at Los Angeles airport today. This tied the old record of 41 degrees set in 2019.
See, that's also clearly a sign of climate change, because usually like the records shouldn't be breaking that quickly.
Exactly. And they shouldn't it
shouldn't be tying that fast.
Exactly. It shouldn't be, we broke the record last year.
We're going to break it again.
And then break.
Exactly.
Or even just hit that same record.
Because before it would be like, the last time this record was broken was like 1957. You know what I mean?
Well, because even before the exacerbation of climate change, I feel like you can still get freak weather things that do happen, right?
Of course.
There was periods of time where it was like, Calgary would get super warm for a summer. We'd have a heat wave, that did happen, but it's like the frequency of these events now and the extremity of them.
I need to see extremity. Yeah. I need to see what 41 degrees Fahrenheit is.
It's probably not going to be that cold. It's probably what it is today right now in Calgary. So,
well, it definitely won't be like minus, hold on.
Go Fahrenheit to,
Celsius to, Fahrenheit to Celsius. Guys, when are you going to switch to the normal system? 5 degrees Celsius. That's the record? You people.
Yeah, but it's LA. Like,
I know, but that's still adorable.
They're like in a desert, right?
But 5 degrees, how's that a blizzard? Or is that just one day? Like, they definitely snowed. That's what I heard. Okay. Did LA snow? Let's see. Snowfall tops 6.5 feet and rainfall tops 5 inches across Southern California. Oh, this looks insane. I don't know if that's LA, but a winter storm dumped massive amounts of precipitation across Southern California, including more than 6.5 feet of snow to Mountain High, wherever that is, and more than 5 inches of rain to Cucamonga Canyon. I like that name.
Beautiful.
And then heavy rainfall. I don't know about LA exactly.
Yeah. But it's crazy. It's like wild.
It's insane. It's insane.
So they're dealing with, I guess we're not the only ones in this kind of like,
oh my God.
Although it's warmed up a bit for us guys, it's still like kind of
but
snowing.
It's still pretty cold.
Yeah, it's still kind of cold.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to go running today, but ended up not going.
I know. I was going to go running too, but right now it's like, it's too much snow.
Yeah.
So basically, what's the doomsday message of the day, Daniel?
No doomsday message, guys. On that positive note.
On that positive note, Daniel is banned from talking about climate change for the next month. We are both banned.
Okay. Banned.
Unless there is a massive story.
Yeah.
Which there probably will be.
Yeah, there will be. Anyway, guys, on that positive note, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed some of the stories, found this episode insightful and fun, and please show us some love in the comment section below. If you are watching this video on YouTube, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to give this podcast a rating, 5 stars please, and also follow. Don't forget to hit that follow button, then you get updated as soon as you get new episodes, as soon as we post new episodes. Also, guys, Rose mentioned this earlier, but you should definitely check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/TheSaVeg Podcast. Links are in the show notes, guys.
Yeet.
And that is where you can subscribe, get exclusive content. We do an exclusive episode every single month just for that community. And also all the content comes out a week before everyone else gets these episodes, and it's all ad-free content. So, and it starts for as little as $3 per month.
There you go, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next
Oh,
week.
one other thing, guys. Don't forget to check out the links to the upcoming trips in August,
our
guys.
Our 2 trips to Thailand and Bali.
Yes.
So if you guys want to come with us to Thailand and Bali and hang out for a week, 1 week in Bali, 1 week in Thailand, you can come to one or the other or both.
Or both.
And the links are in the show notes or the description. And you can meet us in person. We can talk about all kinds of things.
Well, we can have a healthy debate, guys.
Exactly.
Have a couple of glasses of wine.
Maybe a few more.
Oh, goddamn. Or not. If you don't drink, that's fine too.
Exactly. You know? It's going to be such a good time. So definitely join us. Links are in the show notes.
Yep.
And that is it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.